What if I told you it's not about what you need to do to win? It's so much more about who are you trying to be to give yourself a chance to succeed in this business. Agents are completely skipping this step, and it's led to one of the worst failure rates of any industries, period, being a realtor and trying to succeed. In this video, in this episode, my goal is to deep dive into this and give you the solution. Welcome back to another Reeducation Experience podcast. Again, I'm your host, Darren Langille, and we are in our 7 C's series. For those of you, if you've just started listening, this is going to be covering C number 2. And if you missed C number 1 and the explanation of the overarching kind of next set of series we're going to go through, please go back a couple episodes and take part in that. When you move, we talked about courage last time. When you move, you have the courage to step forward. I got to tell you, I know it takes a lot to get the engine up and running. It takes a lot to get this train car moving in the right direction. If we have the courage to do it, which was C number 1, I want to make sure that we are going in the right direction. This is the goal of today's episode. See, I once met a realtor who had come off of a big team. Right? That's how we started. We got into the business. He was trained under big team mentality, which is generally done through online lead generation and just driving leads into the system. And then the system ends up getting the agents get the leads. They work on the online conversions. They work on CRM management. They go through that. And generally great teams that do this have agents that fall into the machine and can actually spit out reasonable income, right? He at one point had the courage to step away from the mega team. Step away, saying I could do this on my own. I've started to feel like I'm getting this business together. I think a lot of us feel this way too, where we're like willing to shed our skin and it's time to do something on our own. Took that solo leap. But when doing so, the default that was programmed was I need to be a solo agent now. And to have success, I need to go and invest in lead flow and online systems and go down that path because that's what I was taught. Right? You do this, you're going to spend some money. And in this case, he did have success. But it didn't feel like this leap from being a part of the team to solo. That mission was just not, it was kind of stalling out. He was moving, he had the courage to step, but I don't think he realized that it was in the wrong direction. We ended up having some chance to chat about this, and we readjusted it. We adjusted his business so that it aligned with the type of agent he wants to be, not the one by default that had created the pseudo success so far. He changed that, removed the shackles of that path, and guess what? His career has completely blossomed, and he's on a pace to be within the top 1% of the industry now and for the rest of his career. But I share this kind of powerful story about the concept of if we're going to move, let's move in the right direction because, path A would have been continuing down this. And to be honest, would have done pretty A-okay. But path B was, once he had the chance to move, to pick the path that aligned with him. So it was more about the who versus the what. And that was the game changer for his business. So if you have the courage to move, the direction matters. And I believe so to have a fighting chance in this business because there are so many ways that you can build the business, but there's so many ways that don't line up with who we are. We need to get ourselves in the best chance for success so that we can kind of get away from all that noise and the distractions, and we can make use of the courage that I talked about last week. This career, unfortunately, burns out, fails out so many people. And it's not because this is the hardest business in the world, right? Once we get into the mechanics of helping buyers and sellers, it isn't the hardest job. We are not surgeons. We are not, doing, open heart surgery and things like that. Because we just don't end up playing in the sandbox that we should or not. My personal example is a perfect example as well. So when I was a solo agent, I converted to being a team leader. So here I am wearing my team leader Darren hat. And what team leaders do, like I just said before, is we decide to build a squad which has value. And oftentimes, part of value is delivering leads. So this was the farthest thing from my expertise. So as I built out a team, I had to learn that the systems, I had to learn what it is to do online lead flow. But throughout my journey, through those 4 or 5 years doing a team leadership, my business never entered this world. The team agents fully expanded here. And I think that my last year, 60% of their business was from online leads. But it just goes to show that, like me working that in parallel, it did work out, but the energy to move that second train, secondary from my skill set, was enough to almost make me cry and second guess it every single day. So it's not about what you do to win, it's more about who. And this is how we're going to go and talk about C number 2. C number 2, you guys, the name I'm giving it is clarity, right? C number 1 was courage. There are proven roadmaps today. You could leave this podcast behind, and if you knew which direction you wanted to build your business, there is a complete set and guide for every single lead gen resource with scripts, with your good old pal ChatGPT that can work along with you, so that once you develop the clarity about which road you want to go down and which path you're going to pick to build your business, it's all there. Nobody needs to recreate anything. So it's not about, again, what it is at all, because if it was about what, I think so many more agents would succeed because that info is more at our fingertips than ever before. What happens is we don't get the clarity that we need in our business, and that's what we'll unpack. So this start-stop career continues to happen that I have mentioned a few times. We end up hating the job, we end up hating the process, we end up doing things we don't want to, most likely quitting is what tends to happen. So what I want to do is course correct us. I want us to give the clarity and give you a mechanism to figure out what this actually is. What can we do to ensure our experience in our life, we can pivot into a business, a style, a business by design rather than by default. So what we got to do to turn this concept, if you're with me, into practical value, I want to walk you through something that some of you may have heard if you've ever heard me keynote, or of course my red line agents inside my walls. It's something that's just built into our DNA, but the 5 core Realtor Avatars. I want to give you 5 choices to go down of who you can be. And the whole crazy world of which way you can build your real estate business, I'm here to tell you, it actually does break down and comes up into one of these 5 core avatars. When you know there's only 5 versus hundreds, I would suggest this must feel better, right? You must feel much better. The never-ending ways that realtors can make business because they're watching how things are happening distills down into 5 simple buckets. Now, I will give you an analogy around this. I don't know if you've heard the term like a Michelin star restaurant, right? You get 3, 4, 5 stars. The Michelin star restaurant on their menu has a very limited selection, doesn't it? They are highly curated chef design dishes. If you went to a Denny's though, you end up finding like a 10-page menu with like hundreds of options. And I know if I've been there, I'm sitting there staring, trying to figure out which combination of eggs and bacon and sausage and dough and this and that and fruit and yogurt and how can I all get this? And I seem to sit there with that menu for forever trying to figure out what I want to be. And when I make the choice, what happens is I'm like, I should have went with this one or I should have went with that one. And you end up second guessing and looking back. The difference though is when you're in a Michelin star restaurant and you pick the one that just resonates with you, you are excited for it, your mouth is watering for it, and when you pick it, you don't look back. If it's the short braised ribs, you're in and you're all in, and you know it's going to be good. That's a huge difference between the two, and it's maybe that analogy that helps us bring it through. So what I'm going to do now is hang tight, and we're going to walk through what I believe to be the 5 realtor avatars, which means the core types of realtors that exist in this business that create thriving realtors. And this is what I'm going to walk you through right now. So the first one, now these are in no particular order. The first one, I call it a listing dominant agent, right? The listing dominant agent And just as a bit of foreshadow, every one of these core has a skill set, has a full breakdown that in future episodes, I'm going to unpack these in great detail. And then for those of you that come into Rome, the Realtors on a Mission community, the workshops for each one of these are incredibly powerful. So stay tuned and just stay with me on the journey. But today I need to just surface what they are so you have a chance to get what I'm talking about. So the listing dominant agent is basically the agent that gets up every day and wants to become the ultimate listing machine. This avatar of agent already, without you knowing the other four, you know that if somebody woke up with this intention in their life to be, I'm a listing dominant agent, you can imagine the things that you would do in your calendar, the things you would study, the things you would improve on, the people you would hire would be different than just, I wake up one day and I'm a realtor. You guys follow this? Again, by design, not by default. So this, in my opinion, for those of you that like predictability, meaning like, I know this business can be a little crazy and it's hard to manage people's client experiences and stuff when it's on their timelines, but this is a very predictable way to build your business. And it's very empowering because you're usually the one in control. You can create a very consistent, reliable set of actions for your business, right? When I take a listing, I do it on these days, right? I take appointments on those times. When I launch to market, I go now with my marketing. I do pre-marketing, on marketing, post-marketing. You are in control of all of those mechanisms. And when you do that, because you're in control, it's not only predictable, but it's also very empowering because you finally feel like you're in a business that you are kind of unstoppable with, right? You can build influence fast with it because you're the one with the billboard on the sign. This, to be honest, it can be for any type of agent, but it is perfect for established agents. They're looking to stabilize their life a little bit more and get away from the crazy world of what's coming where. And they're looking to stabilize and focus kind of a clear direction for their business. Listing dominant agents, if you can imagine, they do need a few bucks to rub together. So as a brand new agent, if you don't have a kitty of cash, you're going to run into a few issues because there is marketing expenses to do it in today's world that maybe aren't in other buckets of real estate. So I mean, that is something. It's also, though, agents who might be looking to put a little sweat equity out there and they're going to go work and hustle and drive listing-based conversations because a junior agent can bring value to an experienced listing agent by helping with some of the workflow that comes from a listing-based business. But that agent may no longer want to do some of those tasks, hosting open houses, door knocking around it, taking part in solds, and all the efforts that go with it. So I just want you to think about it. That one of the buckets is listing dominant agent. Listing dominant agents, to be an ultimate listing machine, a lot of the key skill sets is you have to really love the client experience because you are taking control and you have to build it to lead, right? Another thing is you're trying to be a listing dominant agent. You are focused on the listings, which means you're trying to squeeze every opportunity into more listings. Or if you wake up every day and you want to create more listings from it, that might be telling that you're excited to be a listing dominant agent. Listing dominant agents are also master marketers because in today's world, regardless of seller's market, buyer's market, they are high marketers. They spend money on marketing. They get used to listing-based videos. They do all the high-end everything. And this is part of the plan that comes from being in this bucket. So I would ask you guys, again, I can't go through it all in this, but does this feel like you? Does this feel like that's a life that I would want to build towards? And if I do, am I doing the things that I kind of just spoke about? Or am I running and gunning randomly? And when I take a listing, I take a listing. I just want you to think about this as we're exploring C number 2, which is clarity on the type of agent you want to be, the who. All right. If you're wondering, right, you think about your own marketplace. Who is that listing dominant based agent? Who is that person? And who do you look up to in the business? That might be indicative to say, oh, that agent is a listing dominant agent. That's probably why I'm compelled to lean into them or why I like what they do so much. And that might tell you again that this could be for you. So that's the question. Are you listing dominant or are you not? The next one that I want to talk to you about is called the Revenue for Life Realtor. Revenue for Life. What this means, you were trying to be an ultimate listing machine before. Well, this bucket of agent isn't doing that. This bucket of agent they are the sphere of influence master. A lot of people get into this business And they do it because they're great with people. They love networking. They want to be the trusted resource. And what they do every single day lines up with building upon that. Right? All of us, though, we do dabble with this style because the friend calls us, the aunt and uncle use you, all the people that you might have known from a past job reach out to you. So we dabble and we benefit from it, everybody in the industry. But very few truly harness the power and become masters of it and kind of go through this exercise to see, well, what does this mean? Sphere of influence stuff is kind of more of an art form rather than a business for most. And I say art form because we kind of figure it out as we go. Every time is different. Sometimes we treat the personal relationship we have different than the business relationships. But those who treat Sphere, like their database, like an engine that creates business for them, they act differently. It's not just a hobby. So this type of people, I think you're kind of getting onto it. If this is resonating with you, these are people that value relationships, right? They value friendships. This is super high on your priority list, right? You're constantly the one that's like reaching out, you're exuding care, you're being there for friends. And if I asked your friends, they would tell me that you're always there for them. They would tell me that you're always present. And this is that type of agent, right? They're really relationship builders, which is kind of a very fun place to be. They love serving people they know or people that they know versus chasing the cold leads. So it's more about warm versus cold. And that's something that's a key decision-making process for you. There's a lot of agents that say, no, I love chasing cold. I don't really love working with the people that know me. And that's totally up to you. That's just a different avatar. Social butterflies, people that hit networking, make it a point to get out and be in the public. And they're not scared. These guys are not scared to blend your personal life and your business life together. It's all one. So I'd ask you, the revenue for life concept is those who cater their databases and make that about it. It's about being good people. You can actually do an average job, but just be good people and be present and care, and people will use us, right? This business model is great because it doesn't change over time. It's just nurturing and caring, right? You don't need crazy tech. You don't need to learn YouTube algorithms. You don't need to, to figure out how to grow viral on social. It's so much different. So the question I always have is, again, is this an avatar that you could use for your business? Revenue for life, when done well, creates raving fans for life. And that's a pretty fun place to be. All right, so I'd ask again, is that you? And you know if it's you, and you also know if it's not. I can tell you, I have catered to my database, but I was never the one that made it my thing. I just knew that wasn't my everyday. There was other ways, which I'll explain later, that built my business. All right, so what's the next one? The next avatar that I want to talk to you about is the avalancher, or the avalanche machine, right? The avalancher is the agent that is here to maximize momentum in their business. An avalanche, when you see it, it's avalanche season where I'm recording this right now, and you see things all over in the mountains where once the thing triggers, you ain't stopping Mother Nature. Right? It just goes and goes and builds. It's like the snowball just keeps getting bigger and bigger, like the cartoons we saw as a kid. So the avalanche, not only is it big and hard to stop, but they can start anywhere, right? It could pop off on that cliff over here, or, that peak of the mountain might break, or a noise happens over X, and boom, you see the thing in the funnel of shoots of snow coming down the mountains. And that is the key thing about avalanchers. It's a little bit more random, right? If you think about it, avalanchers, I also talk about them. They're the ones that are kind of figuring out ways to connect the dots. An avalancher will get a lead from one spot, and they'll figure out how they connect it to this one. And they'll get a lead over here, and they'll track and measure to see how I can connect it to this one. And then the avalancher will work their butt off to find any which way to work together, and to put two different points on the map together. That is a lot different than a revenue for lifer. That is a lot different than the very repeatable listing-based business agent. This agent takes the sign call lead from the open house that they got from a friend who didn't want to do the listing, and takes it, and that agent finds out that they're not looking to buy that house anymore, but they want you to take them to an acreage out of the city, where it's just like this thing to there. So whatever the hot button opportunity is, they're like a dog with a bone, and they will chase it. Now, the avalanche machine, I spent a lot of time in my business on this because, when I was moving from being kind of a sphere-based agent meaning early in my career where I didn't know a lot of people, but I had a few friends in their 20s that were looking to buy and sell with me. But then I started to monetize the machine a little bit. So then the sign calls came for my listings. I would spend time open housing and dealing with more colder leads. And that's what tends to happen with an avalanche machine type agent. The big key for this is an avalancher will take every one opportunity and they will do their best to explore another opportunity with it, to connect with somebody else, to make 1 equals 2, 2 equals 3, onward and onward. It's a very exciting thing. The avalanchers love building lists and then leveraging the power of what they know of the list to just drive more sales consistently. And that is something that's important. They're going to attack always the path of least resistance to get more out of every opportunity. They love the concept of matchmaking, right? And off they go, right? But a key thing I want to note about the avalancher is freedom of schedule. Where in my current present state, I do the drop-offs with the kids, I pick up the kids. If I was out running and gunning like I did a decade ago as an avalancher, I couldn't do it with my commitments to my family today. So I have to be more of a listing dominant agent when I play the game. But when you have freedom of schedule, this, and you can jump and you can go hot to trot really quickly, is very exciting. All right. Okay. Is this one you? I don't know if it's you, but think about it. Here's another one. The fourth bucket, I kind of call it as like the investor takeover. The investor takeover agent, oftentimes like they're the investor wizard. They love everything to do with numbers. They love the ideal of cash flow. They like equity. They like anything that they can do to kind of like build wealth in this industry. And they're likely in the business to do a little bit of this themselves. Right? I entered the industry as an investor agent. My business partner never changed from it. For a whole two decades we've been in now, this has been his motivation. All investor business, all the time, right? The investor business, the investor agent is a little bit more lonely because it's a smaller group of people, as you can imagine. But what comes with that is that you are working and you're playing in the same sandbox that you love, right? So you're working for clients that are investors, and then you are an investor generally, and your work and your passion are intertwined in quite a beautiful way. So you find this is the one that, of course, builds a ton of wealth because they're focused on, buying properties themselves and bringing joint ventures into the mix. And you can imagine the things that an investor agent will talk about is a lot different than the agent trying to do, 3D tours or, social media content just to grow followers. The investor clients are educated. They're educated in what we sell, which is the investment properties. And that life is a lot different. But if you are an investor agent and you play to this passion and you don't try to be everything else that you're not, these agents create huge upside, both in their income numbers, but also their wealth numbers. And it's pretty cool to see when an agent carves this out and becomes this for once and doesn't try to be what they think they're supposed to be, and they really rock and roll. Okay, the last one I want to talk to you about is kind of a newer one. There's a rise to it, and I call it the creator agent. And because with the rise of social media, there has been agents who have hit the scene and then done a massive rise quickly because their ability to play the social media game. They love to create stuff. They love to share the news. They're not scared to put their voice out there. They are out there putting their face out there, whether they look good, bad, or indifferent. And this is one that we all play a little bit of this game. But again, just like the revenue for life, where I said it's kind of a hobby for most people, not a true business. Well, this is also the same, right? It's considered needed for most, but it's only mastered by a select few. And what I mean by master is like this becomes a lead gen resource versus just a way to connect with their people, right? Where this actually is growing new people, new contacts, new real estate conversations. This just makes sure the ones that you're going to have and the people that you know you don't leave and go to somebody else, right? So again, the creatives love this one. I think the fearless love this one. The tech enabled, because you can imagine it takes a little bit to stay up to speed on cameras and edits and all the things that come with it. So it is a pretty interesting concept. As we go through, you guys, all 5 of these topics, right? We need to decide which one is you. You need to create the clarity in your business, and your job is to kind of pick one, right? The first step, right? C1 was courage, C1. And we will act into the groove, we will act into the path if C2 is in alignment, if C2 is picked correctly. When we're trying to get this engine rolling, the alignment is there with who we are and the business we want to go out and do in March. I kind of see the C2 as kind of like the grease or the lubricant to the engine. Because without it, it stalls and it gets noisy and it's gross and the thing doesn't work. But the engine that is greased up and lubricated is smooth. You don't even hear it. It's moving greatly. And these are the careers of agents that continue to last and forever. This allows you to build that business by design that I know you want, but you're doing it by default. And I challenge everybody to get to coach to say, let's do this, whether you're 20 years in the business listening to this and it's finally hitting home, or this is like your first month, right? If you apply the time to kind of figure this out in terms of what is your motivation, I think this is going to be a huge indicator for you of like your upcoming success or upcoming potential stall and failure. Not just now, you guys, but for your career, right? The more you're aligned, the quicker you're aligned, the better chance you're going to have to succeed in this business and earn huge market share, like, you know. So like I told you, I've seen this undergo many seasons through my career. So you might be picking the one today and it might evolve. All right, I started as a revenue for life because I didn't know a lot of people, but I had a few folks that were professionals and they were buying their first houses. Then I quickly rolled out of that and I went into the avalanche, where I just took what I could and I ran while I had time and freedom, and I created business flow. Then I started to realize I liked the listing-based business, and I converted my business to, listings and heavy focus on marketing and luxury, and I invested and I learned that path. And I stayed that as a listing dominant agent for the balance of my career as I take business. So as I leave you, it's my hope that you just take the time to think about this, to give yourself that overarching business kind of filter. So if something's coming in and what's coming out the back end, I need you to know as your filter, which is your core avatar. And that'll be the thing that decides what hits the calendar, what learning you take in, what do you consume, what tech you involve with, who you hire. And again, we'll unpack this. It has to be, right? It has to feel right. It has to feel as if you can do it for forever to be able to have the greatest success in your business. So hopefully, again, this was another great episode for you. Please, we're going to unpack this in a workshop. So get to reeducation.school, get into Rome. It's the free community, Realtors on a Mission, where we take this podcast powered experience into a full coaching journey for you with resources, templates, and so much more. It's the only way you'll find out about these things. So again, thank you for listening to another show. We will talk to you and catch you again next time.